Hey there YouTube, welcome to Big Mike Beard Wisdom. So today we're going to be talking about common questions that you get as a tech. And this one in particular is going to be about coolant leaks, and the common question of, do I need to fix it or how long will this last? The vehicle that we're in right now isn't currently overheating per the gauge, and also hasn't been overheating, so it just kind of has been ranging, you know, slightly north of the straight up position, so slightly on the hot side and slightly on the low side, which is normal as a thermostat opens and closes. But it's got a couple spots in the radiator where there's a visible leak, and then besides it not overheating, it's also doesn't really have a smell when you're inside the vehicle. So there's nothing that really gives you any signs that there's a problem until you open the door. Now once you open the door, you can kind of get a little bit of a whiff of coolant. It's not very strong though, so it's probably just enough where you question whether or not it's your vehicle. But man, once you pop the hood, it is definitely your vehicle. And just a quick look at things, you can see right here that there's a little bit of the coolant there on that hose or wiring harness. You can see a little bit of it sprayed back here. Some of it's sprayed over on this hose here. Looking down on this side, you can see that it looks almost like it might be either leaking where the plastic is, like the end tank, is crimped onto the actual radiator fins and stuff, or there might be a little tiny hole somewhere down inside of there. And then looking around over here, there's a little bit right there as well. You can kind of see some on the radiator fan there. So as far as where it's coming from on this side, I don't quite know. If you want to be, you know, kind of nice to your technicians and stuff like that, I would recommend dropping the vehicle off early for service. Because as you drive there, the vehicle's at full operating temperature, which could be between, you know, 170 to 200 degrees. So the coolant is now 170 to 200 degrees hot. And for them to replace the radiator, they've got to drain the coolant out. So if you take it in there a little bit early, about an hour or so, normally that's enough time. It's able to cool down fairly well, except for on like a really hot day. But it'll be much cooler, and then when he goes to pull it in, you know, they're gonna have a little bit nicer mentality towards quality of work on your vehicle. This being a Chrysler product, it's really important to use the right coolant. So there's a couple different types of coolant that Chrysler's used over the years, and one's an OAT and one's an HOAT, and basically the two should never be mixed. So the HOAT ones, as far as I can tell, have higher like corrosion resistance. So it's one of those things where you really don't want to mix them, and using, you know, an OAT one or like a generic over-the-counter one or like a everything coolant may not support an HOAT system or be compatible, and then you wind up losing the anti-corrosion properties of it. One of the big questions I got was basically, how long can you continue to run like this? So there's no easy answer here, because right now it doesn't look like it's like spraying out of the radiator, and you can even squeeze the hose and it doesn't seem like anything's really bad is going on. So it might be something where this was leaking and either someone used like a radiator stopped leaking on it or something like that, or this started to like clog itself. Either that, or it only leaks when it's super hot, or you know, you hit bumps or something like that, or there's stress on the radiator. So normally, if something's leaking or going bad, it doesn't fix itself. So inevitably, it would only get worse. And fixing it as soon as possible saves you the headache of being stranded on the side of the road. That question about whether or not something's gonna, you know, how long it'll last is a common one, because a lot of people just want to know, hey, is this something that I have to fix right now? A lot of times it comes down to budget. Maybe it's going to be really expensive. Maybe it's just time. Maybe they got to go somewhere. They got to do something. They're on a trip, something like that. So it's kind of one of those things where a lot of times you won't get a super straight answer from the people you talk to about it, because there's no guarantee. So a bad ball joint could go, you know, maybe 20,000 miles. Or as the technician backs it out of his bay, that wheel may fall down because the ball joint just let loose. This vehicle has quite a lot of miles on it, and it's kind of one of those things where it might be something where that radiator's just wore out. It might be something where there's a small crack in it. There's no real guarantee that you can say that says, oh yeah, well, you know, you can go another day or two, or you can go another month, or you can go, you know, 100 miles, or you can go 10 miles. Because inevitably, some stuff when it fails slowly. Some stuff when it fails catastrophically. And no technician, no service manager, no shop is going to want to try and say something and then have you turn around and say, well, you said this would go, and then that gets them in trouble. So that's kind of one of those questions that it's really hard to ask. That's like asking someone when the stock market's going to crash. Or whether or not you should buy this stock because it's going to go up. Is the stock going to go up? Should I buy it? Is the stock going to go down? Should I sell it? So questions like that are pretty hard to answer. And it's one of those things where you're almost better off shaking a magic 8-ball and taking it for its word. Because you really are kind of gambling. You know that there's a problem, you just don't know when the problem's going to get worse. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Feel free to like and subscribe. I'll check you next time. And then anytime you're dealing with a radiator, you do not want to touch that when it's hot. And the same thing happened, because I was like, okay, well, it stopped steaming, now I'll just throw in a little bit of water. As soon as I put that water in, you could hear it go,